Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from the Mandalorian Chapter 16, The Rescue. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where this piece of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. With that, I'm joined this week by my co-hosts Amanda and Christian as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. Except today we're far, far away from each other. There was a bad snowstorm where we live today, so we're all calling in remote. But we're doing the show nonetheless. The show goes on.
We're going to rank it for you, don't worry.
Yeah, for all the folks out there that just were like, we saw a snowstorm blow through the Midwest of the United States. There's no way the show's happening. Well,
we're here to prove you wrong.
Yeah, that's all we're here. We're here to prove you wrong, or for the people who just desperately need this show on Fridays. Well, you're still gonna get it.
And it's arguably our most important episode. It is the finale of season 2 of Mandalorian.
You think this is more important, though, than the movies we've ranked, like The Phantom Menace?
I just mean the most important one of...
You certainly thought so about last episode.
Yeah, well, most of them are more important than Phantom Menace, in my opinion.
I did think that this last episode was better than this episode, that's for sure.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Amanda, what was this episode all about? For the folks who don't remember the season finale of Mandalorian Season 2.
Yes, if you forgot the moment that changed Star Wars universe, we get Din, Bo-Katan, Fennec, Boba, what's Bo-Katan's friend's name? Kotska, and Gideon, and everyone, the doctor, everyone is all around for the big finale where Din is here to invade Moff Gideon, beat him, and take back the child, while Bo-Katan is interested in getting her Darksaber back to take on Mandalore. While Din is getting his butt kicked by a singular death trooper, he finally bests Moff Gideon, but not before the Death Troopers all come flying back to the ship. And when all hope seems lost, a mysterious X-Wing flies in and lands on the ship. And a cloaked Jedi is revealed to be Luke Skywalker to take Grogu and train him in his Jedi Force use. That's it.
Christian, I'm so mad you gave this episode a 93.2%. And the last episodes were so great, and you just didn't give them their props. You didn't give them their dues.
I'm mad that you so phenomenal. This one.
And you said it was a story a 3.5.
Why the heck would you give this story a 3.5 out of 5? First
off, what about this story? Was that 4? What did you say? 4.8.
What about this story?
You said this story was a 4.8.
No, to me, this makes sense why Christian would rank it this way, because he's been consistent about the idea of like continuing the storyline and making sure it all kind of ties together. And this is that episode where all of these little threads that had been like started throughout the season, they all mix up.
Thank you, Amanda. It all concludes to this. It is iconic Star Wars. It goes right into, it plays everything up, leading up to this moment for the story. We're getting Grogu and Mando are getting separated, but they're okay with it, and they actually have some closure about it. You're bringing in the Jedi for it. You have a story within a story of like the heist for the grand story of The Mandalorian, and it leaves you with a great cliffhanger, not just wrapping it all up. And it gets you excited about season 3, which, if you didn't notice, when you watch, do you ever watch like the previously on Mandalorian, like all the stuff intros? Notice that it didn't take a single clip from last week's episode, because last week's episode was inconsequential to the overall story of this.
Okay, now I wouldn't go that far because they wouldn't know where Moff Gideon was if we didn't have last episode.
You just take that one, they just get the coordinates. That was it from last episode. But you were saying that story was ranked, what did you say, a 4.6 compared to this week's story
day of the
week, 3.5 is what you're saying, Brody?
Yeah, it stood up on its own.
It makes absolutely no sense.
I think Brody just has an unfair bias man crush on Bill Burr.
And Tamara Morrison.
And whatever Cobb Vanth's name is again, Timothy Oliphant. He's always going to rank his boy crushes higher than any of the other episodes.
Can you imagine if Cobb Vanth was in that episode? Like, I don't...
That would have been... was shining brighter in this episode than last episode. So I am surprised.
Yeah, I mean, Tamara Morrison was pretty awesome. Also, Tamara Morrison, while he was cool, I did want to take some notes here. I think I should probably save this for my hot take, but I don't know. I don't think it's that hot of a take, so I'm going to say it now. I think this is the coolest the Slave One has ever been, was in this last episode. Even though the seismic charges weren't a part of it, I loved the shot of it rising in front of, what's the Imperial cruiser ship that, the Emperor would ride on, and they were riding at the beginning of the episode.
It was one of those shuttles. I forget the name of the
shuttle. Yeah, one of those Imperial shuttle things. It's rising up, and I never really grasped the scale of the Slave One. When you see Boba at first, and it just keeps going, you're like, oh, this is pretty big ship. And then I love the reverse shot where Boba's clearly, obviously, he's putting on a show. And there was a shot that kind of mimicked Attack of the Clones where the Slave One kind of just runs into the shot. Super cool. And then when finally he's actually trying to get away, the guns just flip back. He spins and takes out both ties and then goes into hyperspeed. Gone. And I'm like...
That was pretty badass.
Boba this whole season was so much cooler in the few episodes he was in than all of the Book of Boba combined.
Okay,
crazy awesome.
When you talk about the most badass Slave One moment, I always think of that Book of Boba Fett when they attack the biker gang.
He murders the Sunday going.
So I don't know how you
crew.
can
church going.
Yeah, I don't know how you forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Or when it's barely destroying the Sarlacc, you're like, yep, this is pretty cool. Oh, another thing I want to talk about. I will say that there were a lot of things I did love about this episode. The story was not one of them. It was fine, but the technical aspects, I gave it a 4.4. There were a couple of things that were kind of clunky to me, like when Cara Dune's having a tough time with her gun, and so she decides, screw it, and she starts just, swinging it at stormtroopers, and I'm like, no one could take her out. She's in front of all of her, whoever the group she's with. She's leading the charge. Her gun doesn't work, and none of you can take her out. You stormtroopers are literally the worst. So that was one of the only nitpicks I had. Besides that, do you remember the one thing that was really cool when the TIE fighter was leaving the hangar, and you're seeing it from the perspective of the pilot, and the ship just and takes off, and it goes out of the hangar? So cool.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
Never seen something like that, and having that kind of perspective in Star Wars. Yeah, I don't think there's not any other moments where you've ridden from the view of the pilot, especially a stormtrooper pilot anyway. So I thought that was cool. Seeing the spear anytime that Mando uses spear is super cool. Lots of great stuff with the...
I feel like if we're going to talk about technical aspects, we can't not bring up the deep fake Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, that was not good.
So that's why I gave it the lowest among you guys. Actually,
the dead eyes.
Yeah, it was just it is the eyes, and obviously that's the part of the face that we must connect with as a viewer. But also it was just, he didn't have any micro facial movements. Like he didn't emphasize certain words with like his mouth or like the way that he like squints his eyes, you know, like we all have different ways that we add more emotion behind the way we talk, and that was just like so missed. And even his like audio seemed like they were always trying to like keep his mouth away from the audio so they weren't trying to like sync it up too well. I don't know if you guys got that same impression.
I mean, I'm all for them trying it though. Like I'm glad they went for it, and it wasn't something that held them back from doing it. They went for it. It wasn't perfect, but I'm glad they tried. Because it's still awesome. It still lands for me.
It's interesting because the first time around was a couple of years ago, like it landed it. I could suspend disbelief for that moment, and it was pretty awesome to see what they were doing with that deepfake technology, and like, wow, that actually looks pretty darn good for like the technology at the time. Yeah, and they don't spend much time like on his face for a long period of time because I think they know that shortcoming with the mouth and the expression. But to me, like that Luke, it took me right back to the beginning, Return of the Jedi Luke, and how he was expressionless as well and very kind of robotic. And so I thought they pretty well assimilated to that character of Luke, all things considered. And yeah, this go around, I was a little more like critically looking at it, but it was still like, holy crap, what they could do back then with that. And imagine what, they keep trying to do it. So it's an interesting conversation to have about with actors signing up for stuff like this and, letting us use someone else's face or whatnot.
But it's funny because this was a CGI. In the Book of Boba Fett, they used deepfake technology, and I don't know if they used the Corridor Crew, but it was some group of YouTubers who they said, well, the CGI didn't land, let's recreate it. And they did, and they did it with deepfake technology, and it looked better. So Lucasfilm said, screw it, we're going to hire those guys. And they did for the Book of Boba Fett. And it's so funny because I remember when that came out and I saw Luke in that, I was just stunned how much better it looked than the Mandalorian. And it's funny, like the amount of flack they got in the Book of Boba Fett. They're like, oh, it's still, he looks so like, the dead eyes and this and that, and didn't land for me. And I'm like, it's so cool. What are you talking about?
It's just really cool.
Just accept that this is the world we live in now. It's super awesome. And yeah, like the fact that as long as like the actors are good with it to use their likeness, characters can live on, and the tech's only going to get better and better. So
I'm in the camp that they should recast it. Like I'd seen a lot of fan recasts. Sebastian Stan, I think, has the absolute look for it. And didn't he do some like testing stand-ins for those recordings? Maybe that was just a rumor that I heard.
I don't know.
Like to build their face model off of him. But speaking of all of that technology, the new Indiana Jones movie is coming out sometime soon, and they were able to completely de-age Harrison Ford using existing like film footage of him over the years, which is so wild.
Yeah, is it also deepfake tech that they're using to do that, or
I don't know. I just know that Lucasfilm like gave them all of the resources.
I think regardless, I mean, even with all that, setting that aside, also with the technical aspects, we got the most live action use of the Darksaber here, right? Than we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cool. I mean, just their choreographed fight, their fight worked really well. And it was so awesome to see all of that, all their conflict loaded up into that. And then he's using the Beskar spear and it's heating up. And I just thought it really worked well. And it was a good action-packed episode, but also carrying a punch with story and a conclusion, holding for a great cliffhanger. So I think your story rank is crap, Brody. It's 3.5 for this finale. It's one of the
70%. You told the story you needed to tell. You got it across the finish line. It's not
that is showcasing in here, man. It was even character building for him.
It's not character building. It was cool acting.
Man, he got to.
So I've learned what you like, and that's okay.
One-liners.
It's okay. We're all allowed to like different things. You like shiny objects and flashy toys and things.
You
that
did
go
not
boom.
allow me to like or dislike anything from last episode. So I'm not gonna let you live it down.
So I'm just saying that's totally cool. That's your wheelhouse. I appreciate the depth that they went with this last episode and the dialogue that was, created out of it. But hey, that's totally fine. You like Luke Skywalker, and he finally did something cool for once. So that was really awesome.
He did, and yeah. I am a Luke Skywalker hater. But this is kind of my early hot take. But maybe I'll come up with something spicier by the end of the episode. But this is him finally doing something cool, for the first time. Which I don't know if that's a hot take. I feel like
although he was kind of against that Gamorrean guard in Jabba's palace, that the beginning of the Return of the Jedi, you're like, oh.
But then it didn't lead to anything.
Yeah. Father, please.
No.
You will die.
No, he's definitely his most badass form here, which I love because then it's a nod to my favorite movie, which is The Last Jedi. And it makes sense when you see how confident and powerful Luke is when he walks into this ship and he's force choking these death troopers.
That was so
This collapsing. Man is, yes, he is absolutely Jedi Master level at this moment. And it makes sense that he would have such confidence and notoriety and respect that once he actually did fail, it would crush him because he's not used to facing that part of himself. So yeah. I think this further backs the direction that Luke goes in the sequel trilogy.
Oh, man.
Interesting.
And the story set up that area for technical aspects that, again, I think that's the thing that shined the most in this episode. Luke, and maybe this is another hot take, but when he's going down that hallway, I bought so much more into the choreography of that than I do for most of the choreography in the prequels. Something that I think is really cool that I've noticed a lot of times in the prequels, they're blocking, they see what's coming. Whereas this, the whole thing felt like this fluid dance. And when he's getting ready to block a shot, it wasn't just block. And I'm always thinking, well, if there's all of these things coming at you, how are you going to block all these shots at once? So Luke, as he's blocking, he's using a strike motion to also block and also take one out to make the most of each swing. So just to add, it was super cool to see that. Again, he did teeter into the dark side there, it looks like, with using that force choke. And so there was a lot of cool stuff there where you're like, okay, however powerful a lot of these Jedi Masters were before, Luke's on another level. At least that's how it seems. Mm-hmm. And it's, again, it really piques your curiosity because we know how, badass the Mandalorian is. And he could, as Moff Gideon said, he had trouble with just one. And Luke took out
all of them.
Yeah. Was it a battalion, a garrison? I don't know, but he took out all of them. So super cool to see Luke be not just the greatest moment of his career, but most Jedis to the point we've seen today.
Yeah.
And it was great to see the mirror of the Rogue One hallway scene with Vader and that. So the minds behind the episode were honoring these layers and keeping it going. So I think that also helps in as far as the immersive universe goes.
Yeah. And that was, that whole scene leading up, I think it just captured that tension, that suspense. And yeah, to your point, I think most of his choreography was it was fluid, but it was more so purposeful and utilitarian. Everything had a purpose to what he was doing. Whereas I think the prequels have a lot more fluid and dance and flamboyancy to them, where they're more flashy and it's really cool to see him, but less utilitarian, like less purposeful in those instances. But it was just really cool to see him doing all that. And then, yeah, kind of touching back what you were saying, Amanda, the immersive universe side of things, and Moff Gideon, that you made me think of when Moff Gideon is, I liked him serving as kind of like a narrator or a guide for the audience, reminding them how significant the Darksaber is, and like, oh no, like their plan has been foiled. I gave it to him. This is what's going on. Like he's adding to that immersive universe and to that story of like playing into between the next steps for Mando and Bo-Katan and all them. Like, you don't just have Grogu and his separation. You now have this problem of Mandalore and this conflict that they're addressing. So I think when you can intertwine all of that into the story for just this one episode, top notch.
Yeah, and we learned a lot of new rules about the Darksaber. Like, it wasn't in the previous appearances in Clone Wars and Rebels. The rule that it needs to be one was not really talked about, because in Rebels it's just kind of handed off to Sabine, and then it's Sabine hands it off to Bo-Katan, and like it's not really looked at as a dishonor. But I think that kind of plays into like the curse of Bo-Katan.
And speaking of Mandalorian lore and culture, because this all has to come back to Boba Fett for me, I loved the beginning of this episode where they're walking into the bar, saloon, whatever, and you see Bo-Katan and her friends sitting there, and Boba's just minding his business. And out of nowhere, Bo-Katan says, he's like, "Come on, we don't need these. We don't need these folks." And she says something, I don't know what she said to him.
Sidekicks could talk.
Yeah, something like that. And he's like, careful, princess. Yeah, and she's just like, don't you? And he's like, he's like, something about you didn't earn your armor. And he's like, I got this armor from my father. Jango Fett reference. And then she's like, don't you mean your donor? And then going into, I've heard your voice, countless times. And I loved that whole sequence with those two. Super cool. So
it's funny that didn't play into your ranking of the characters, though.
No, I mean, it was fun, but it didn't like build anything against the immersive universe. I mean, this immersive universe, it had those references. Slave One was awesome. Those Imperial whatever transport ships had the Darksaber, Luke Skywalker, TIE fighters, R2-D2. This immersive universe was a 5 out of 5. Yeah. Like I all of those fun things, but it didn't really help build up any characters for me. You didn't really learn anything new.
I disagree. I think you got to see, we have so many different point of views of Mandalorians. Like, Din's perspective of what it means to be a Mandalorian is so different than Bo-Katan's, is so different than Boba Fett, who doesn't even consider himself really a Mandalorian. And that's what kind of broke down Mandalore. And just seeing those interactions and how different people with different beliefs are interacting with each other is so cool. And I'm really excited to see that expand in season 3. Also wanted to pull up Pod Ones. They joined us here and talked about how it was kind of touched on when Maul beats Tar Vizsla and he takes the saber after he defeats him in Clone Wars. But yeah, it doesn't take, the rules of the Darksaber are a little more vague in those instances.
Yeah. But
when you were talking about the whole scuffle between Boba and Casca, I had to Google the quote that he said. He's like, "Well, if it isn't the quack they're calling the stifling slimy." And it's like, what the heck is that?
I know. I literally, every time I hear him say that, I'm like, is he saying, isn't that the quack duck calling the the meow cat? A wolf dog calling. I'm like, all right. Like, literally, Boba, this is why you don't talk. Stop talking.
Sometimes I like to do that myself too. Think of can I make a random phrase? Wow, that's the most Bananas thing you could catch from a dog. You know, like the saying goes.
Get it trending.
Yeah, you do enough weird things like that. Sooner or later, something's going to stick. The question is, like, how insane do your peers think you are by that point? So, we also have at the exact same moment KG and Julian Lopez with the exact same comment in the exact same moment, which is kind of insane.
Nice.
You both are bots.
Mallard
being followed by bots. Either that or you both are just thinking exactly alike.
Welcome to the show.
I wanted to bring up the music. The music, which I enjoyed all throughout. However, I did not like the Darth Trooper music. The like really.
It was a bit jarring.
It was really jarring, in my opinion.
I love the music.
It took it out for me. Everything else, though, like, was great, but it was just like this one thing that was like, "Whoa, LG, hold on,
LG, what you doing?
Wow."
Man?
Yeah, no, I loved it. I loved that too. It gave me like this '80s RoboCop kind of vibe to it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm into the synth sound. Thought it worked for me. But really, LG just, as always, he crushed it this episode. I loved also the score that's playing when Luke is going through the hallway. I've seen a lot of edits where they want to use the Force theme, and that's cool. But I really like how the Force theme played after Luke takes off his hood. It just, masterfully done episode.
It was cool how it blended very well with the classic towards the end there. And
oh, yeah. It felt like into one of the movies. Like the way that kind of builds up with this epic fall off. This was the first time I was expecting like I was like, the most Star Wars-y piece of Star Wars TV content we've gotten to date.
Yep.
Oh. So I have to add. Oh, go ahead, Christian.
Well, I was just gonna say before I forgot. The first time around, did you like watch it all the way through the credits till the end to see the debut of the Book of Boba Fett thing?
I was like, they might. This feels like the kind of thing that would have a post-credit scene,
right?
And
I remember we paused it like at the end of the episode, and then I was like, that looks like too much of an episode left to be just credits. So, followed my instincts.
I think when I didn't see like the concept art that they normally do at the end, I think when they didn't do that, then I was like, whoa, something's up. And I just let it go, and bam, we got another amazing, awesome Boba Fett scene. Then you're like jacked up for the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm disappointed that as far as I remember about the Book of Boba Fett, and I don't remember a whole lot of it, if I'm being honest, but was the theme song that we hear in Mandalorian used at all in that? Or did they just kind of do the
I'm sure for not in the main theme.
I loved his theme in Mandalorian way better. Way better. It's so intimidating.
It was. And they just went a kind of a completely different way. But it was like they wanted to do a flavor of the Mandalorian. And like I don't know, it seemed like they tried to attach too much of Boba to the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I will say I love Boba's theme. So there's no hate coming on. But I remember when I heard it the first time, I was like, you didn't need this, though. Like, it's fine. I do love Boba's theme so much. So, but it was already perfect. And again, it's more intimidating. And it's funny because after you watch Book of Boba Fett, you see this guy who's just going to shoot down, oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy who took Jabba's place.
Bib Fortuna?
Yeah, he took Bib Fortuna's spot, just shot him in cold blood. You don't see that in a Book of Boba Fett, Boba. He's
cool. I know. KG says it best. Boba was intimidating in Mando. Not so much in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I actually was surprised rewatching this season and seeing how much Boba Fett was in it. Same with like Cara Dune. Like they are really throughout the whole season, like really big key players.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought they were used well too. Like,
They were.
They didn't steal the show, but they definitely aided in carrying the purpose in the story. And yeah, I thought it worked out really well.
So I gotta ask you guys, when this episode first came out, KG said they didn't watch Mando when it first came out and it was spoiled that Luke was the big reveal.
Oh.
Did you know that was coming? When was it that you knew? Like, was it as soon as you saw the X-Wing, you were like, I know who that is?
No, it wasn't until I saw the black glove holding the green lightsaber that I'm like, if this isn't Luke, this is a horrible misdirect that is going to backfire so hard on them. I'm like, that's, you know, they can't do it. Not after The Last Jedi. They can't do us like this. That better be Luke. And when he took off his, you know, hood, I was very, very relieved that they followed through on their promise this time.
What about you, Christian?
Basically the same. Yeah, I wasn't picking it out right from the X-Wing or anything. It was more so I was just caught up in that moment. And then during that fight scene, and I can't remember like the exact moment, but nearing the part where he's entering, you're like, please let this be Luke. This is amazing. What about you? What did you think?
Well, that morning, I remember I woke up and I checked Twitter. Big L right there. Shouldn't have done that. And I avoided spoilers. Like, I wasn't looking on the timeline, but I did see on the trending topics, #Luke. And I was like, I freaking bet, you know, I had like kind of an inkling. So when we got into watching it, I'll never forget my husband was like sobbing through that interaction with the Dark Troopers. Like, the only time I've seen him cry comparably hard enough is every time we finish Return of the King, obviously.
Gets you right there.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who can keep a stone face through those moments.
I do have a Return of the King story that I hope doesn't get me in any sort of trouble, but all right, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Quick insight into me. Okay, so I had my buddy over, and we were going to watch all of them, all the extended editions in one day. And so we started early in the morning, and we got through most of the first movie, and then halfway through The Two Towers, another one of our buddies comes over, and he's like, hey, I'm so sorry I'm late. But I brought some drinks, and I'm like, okay, cool. So he brought some food, some drinks, and then he comes over and sits down, and he's like, hey, I had this big old like glass beer bottle thing, and I remember I was getting ready to put some in. I'm like, hey, well, what is this drink? And he's like, well, it's gin. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, how strong is that? And he's like, think of like a White Claw. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So like a beer and like 2 or 3 beers. That's good. So I got this big thing of it. And I got through, a few hours. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. So after like a couple hours, I had like kind of felt it, but I had another big one right after that. And yeah, I don't know how quick it hit me after that, but I did not make it through Return of the King. But apparently all that happened was I was sleeping on my buddy's Tim's shoulder at some point and just watching. Oh, you guys have met Tim. Yeah, cool. He's the guy that got me good and liquored up for Return of the King. And I fall asleep, and all of a sudden, I don't remember this. All that happens is I wake up, and all I hear is, no, you bow to no one. And uncontrollable sobbing. That's so beautiful. Right back to sleep. So, yeah, that's my story. I have no transition out of that.
Well, speaking of Jin, his name is Din Djarin. They could have named him Jin.
Jin Djarin.
Jin Djarin.
Jin Djarin.
Oh, we've got Jin Erso. Oh, yeah, exactly. Someone's probably already memed that with gin and tonic. I don't know.
I'm sure.
I know. Well, it is interesting though to like look at this and like think through the lens of other people. We had in the comments here, some of the folks were saying that they've watched like 50 different reactions. Do you both watch YouTube reactions? I've seen a few. I'm also not. I mean, we have a YouTube show, and I'm not really watching a whole lot of YouTubers right now. So, I mean, do you both watch any of the reaction stuff out there?
Not really.
I don't. No, I kind of missed out on like getting into YouTube. I was a Tumblr girly back in the internet days, and yeah, that's pretty much where my attention went.
Well, let us know in the comments here if you want to see us do reactions to some of Mando Season 3, because if you do, you let us know, you ask for it, we'll make them for you. If you're already watching it, why not add some Duel of the Ranks stuff in there? Amanda, you react pretty big to things.
Okay, my mom has always said that I'm dramatic, but I've always said that I just have dramatic things happen to me and I react accordingly.
Nice. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it looks like the comments are demanding that we do reactions for Mando Season 3. So it's going to happen. We're going to do it.
Okay.
I don't know how we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. We're just going to I'll just use the cameras I have in Christian's house to spy on him and just press record on those. Show off the footage.
You'll be probably really bored. Just I don't have that animated reaction.
I think everybody should get the Amanda commentary when I'm watching any show. Like, my husband is so blessed to get to hear my thoughts and quips and funny zingers all throughout. So I feel like I'd be good at reaction videos.
It's all the insights.
Yeah, I am not I don't think I'm great at them, but maybe I'll learn. I was asked to be on one. I jumped on it, and I was never asked to come back. So I'll learn. I'll get better. With that, it's time for hot takes.
Wait, no. We have to tell people what we ranked it.
And we got to talk about Moff Gideon's reaction. He was about to blow his head off when he saw Luke coming in.
Yeah, dude. Moff Gideon continues to be like so diabolical and mischievous, and I love his character, even though I still think he's a poser, for the record.
Oh yeah, that's right, he is a poser.
But he actually went out trying to take out Grogu, and for that's pretty baller, that's pretty villain, so maybe I have to rescind that poser.
Well, so what's crazy is I remember the first time he was about to blow his head off, and I was bought in. I'm like, no way, he's actually gonna do it, and he doesn't. But my second time, I know he doesn't. But even this time around, I'm like, no way, he's gonna blow his head off. Like, he doesn't do it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, he doesn't blow his head off. But that moment, they just sink in, and I was like, holy crap.
We do have a family-friendly rating for this show, so I won't be explicit, but the dude is he's a female dog. This guy, he tries to make peace with Mando, says everything's all peachy keen, and then when Mando turns his back, just showcasing honor versus dishonorable actions, he tries to get a cheap shot, and not only that, he's an idiot. I was thinking, why didn't you? The backs of his legs are unshielded. Why would you hit, even if you're going for his head, why would you go with anything that's like semi-near his jetpack? Because obviously he kind of curls up and recoils and lets the jetpack take the deflection. But it's just like,
or his armor in general, it's not going to hit.
You're just hitting a pile of Beskar is what you're doing.
Yeah, no matter what you're doing, the upper body, we've seen how heavy that thing can be. Go for the legs. And that's, I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he had his adrenaline pumping. He wasn't thinking. He was super, I'm going to do it.
Or was it his plan all along to give him the dark saber and infuriate Bo-Katan? I don't know. I'm just... I think he thought he was getting away when those... Yeah?
When those death troopers came back, so...
Yeah, probably. Well, where did this put our cumulative rank?
It is sitting at an 86.67%.
That's really solid.
That's high for this gang.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, is that the highest of this season? Well, no, it can't be, because let me see here. Episode
Chapter 9 had an 88.
Oh man. Out with the bang.
So mad.
Oh, that was the Marshal.
With the bang.
Yeah, of course.
Marshall was really fun too. That was a great episode.
So for season 2, the average is a 79.08%, where season 1 was 75.91. Meaning after
Solid.
Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi are the top 2 shows, with Andor being 80.18, Obi-Wan being 78.04, The Mandalorian being 77.49, then Book of Boba Fett at 71.75, Tales of the Jedi 67.38, and The Bad Batch at 63.93%.
Ouch, Bad Batch.
Although I'm pretty
I got caught up on Bad Batch this week, and it is going to be better than our first
I'm watching it right now, and I'll tell you, there's some good stuff this season.
There is some good stuff. I'm excited.
I'm like, this is gonna. It's gonna beat out. I think it's gonna beat out Book of Boba Fett when this show's all said and done. For sure. I mean, it doesn't take much.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. Like, come on now. Like,
okay, yeah, right.
I mean, Boba might even be in this show at some point. That'd be awesome. He and Omega are like basically twinsies. Because Omega, she grows at a standard rate too, doesn't she? She's not like a accelerated growth.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's like, that's the closest thing he's got to a twin.
That is true.
Much younger twin.
Yeah, but like, I mean, they're all kind of twins if you think about it. I mean, they're closer than actual twins with DNA. Okay.
Yeah.
You could call him a clone. Are we ready for hot takes now? Can I press the button?
Let's do some hot takes.
Time to press the button.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time. And Amanda said she was lining up a spicier hot take than what she originally had, so I'm really excited to hear what Amanda has in store for us today.
So this season of Mandalorian brought us a lot of new characters from the extended universe over into this world. We've got Cobb Vanth, Fennec Shan, Boba Fett. And my hot take, even with Luke Skywalker here at the end, I think R2 was the best surprise cameo this season.
Yes.
What? What? You're not serious. I don't believe you.
I don't.
There's no more. You can say it. It's a hot take, but I know damn well you don't believe anything you just
Yes, I do. You don't know me.
Well enough to know you don't believe that.
R2 is the best.
If it was Chopper, you'd have me in the first half. No.
You really believe this?
You don't believe that at all?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, no. That's your lying face bobbing your head. No, I don't buy it at all. You're not going to tell me.
But let's say I did believe it. If I did believe it.
Then I'd say you have a thing for droids.
Yo.
I do love droids. I believe in droid rights.
That's true. We've talked about that extensively.
I believe in a droid's right to make me a sandwich.
Wow.
Hot takes. I mean, it's just like, you could have some hardcore R2-D2 fan clubs out there touting this, and it's like, yeah, that is certainly a hot take. It's just almost comical how hot of a hot take it is.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, I disagree.
I told you I was going to bring the heat.
You brought it. You brought it. Jeffrey Miller said, he's like, I don't know why I get so nervous for your hot take section. This is why I know we don't even know what we're going to say.
Me too, Jeffrey Miller. I get nervous for hot takes.
We didn't even know what we were going to say. Listen, first off, I don't know why everyone keeps talking about droids need rights. We build them. It's hardware. They're not sentient. We talk about the Force. If you believe in the Force and all of these things, that they're all these beings of energy, these spiritual beings, were all these luminescent things that Yoda talks about. Droids are not included in that. It's not real life. You can reset them just like you did R2-D2 and C-3PO. They're fun, but that's all they are. They're there to give you data, information. They're not your friends. They can be programmed to be nice, but at the end of the day, they're just machines. So, no.
Not my hot take.
I know. but I'm double downing on a point that in case new listeners hear what I think, now they know where I stand on that. I disagree that it was the best. We had Ahsoka Tano, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, or Katan. We had Luke Skywalker. We had Frog Lady. We had Cobb Vanth. But R2-D2. Him rolling in. People.
We didn't expect. After you get Luke Skywalker, you're like, wow. Here we go. This is it. And then you're like, R2?
What?
You could argue maybe the most.
All right, we need to do reactions with Amanda. That's all I just learned out of all of this.
What?
Amanda's
R2.
I need to do reactions with Amanda and Jake. I'll be sitting there just chilling, being a terrible reactor. Jake's going to be in tears seeing Luke. Amanda's not going to be saying anything. And when Jake gets done sobbing, then R2's going to roll in and Amanda's just going to start throwing up hands in the air, praising the Force.
Exactly.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and vote down too. Sorry, Amanda.
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
All right. So, Christian, first off, do you have a hot take? And secondly, I guess the next question, do you actually believe in it?
I don't know. Maybe. It's more so, I don't even know if this is a hot take. But when
I feel like it's not after my hot take.
Yeah. Yeah. But there was a lot of great slang in this episode. We mentioned Boba's quote earlier. But something about when Cara Dune, she said, this is going to be a real skank in the scud pie. And it was like, oh, we're saying stuff like that in Star Wars. And it's like, yeah, you can get away with saying that now and just say, yeah, it was in Star Wars. You know? People say that.
Dank ferret.
Yeah,
what
dank
is a
ferret.
Skank in the scud pie?
You gotta
and why
travel
is
to that galaxy a long time ago to find out.
I'd love to know. I would love to know. All right. Well, wait, what's the hot take?
I don't know. I don't know. Just that phrase, a real skank
in the scud pie.
Yep.
That's a pretty hot take.
Yep.
I'm gonna say.
You know, R2's cameo was a real skank in the scud pie. I could have done without that.
Wow.
First off, I disagree. I loved seeing it too. Wasn't the best thing, but the second best thing. No. All right. What is a skank in the scud pie? Look at that. It's the number 2 thing in the Google search results. It's a type of pie. So why is a skank in the pie is the question.
It's not supposed to be there. That's the point.
Why couldn't be anything like dirt in the scud pie? Why does it have to be a skank in the scud pie?
English translation, real stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if the writers would have put, wow, they're being like a real stick in the mud, everyone would have been like, wow, they have the same English idioms that we use.
English stuff. They got chisels. They got
zippers.
Screw these guys. They don't know Star Wars like I do.
Yeah.
Well, you know Star Wars probably better than both Amanda and better than Amanda.
Definitely.
And I.
We all know different aspects of Star Wars. It's like a beautiful diamond.
But you don't know how to bring a hot take today.
Of it, you know.
You didn't know how to bring a hot take.
That's true.
I don't even know how to grade it. Like,
it's milk toast.
I guess
or cold. No, just say it's cold. It's a bad take.
Milk toast is worse than cold, though, right?
This is a lack of good takes because this isn't even a take. So you get this custom soundbite for you today.
I find your lack of good takes disturbing.
Now
that's a perfect use for that soundbite.
It wasn't even a take. Now we know. We got that. All right. Cool.
What about you, Brody?
My take, I said it earlier, but I'm going to go back to it again. Kenji. This is the coolest we've ever seen. The Slave One was in this episode, and it didn't have a seismic charge.
Disagree.
But just the shot of it panning up, the shot of, the only other answer I'll accept is Geonosis. when he's going after Luke Skywalker, over Obi-Wan Kenobi. But besides that scene, I would take this one. I would take the shots from this episode. I thought him fighting the TIE fighters was super cool. Loved the beginning sequence. Loved when he calls in, prepare to be boarded. Thought that was so cool. I think this is the coolest Slave One.
He's like, I'll make it look pretty, princess, or something like that.
Oh my gosh, he kept saying princess. I was like, wow. Boba Fett, what are you doing? Are you being respectful or disrespectful? I need some more context.
We don't even know. I don't
know how to properly react to that. I just disagree because I think the Book of Boba Fett had that Slave One scene that I think trumps all other ones. So
wait, for real? The biker gang?
Yeah.
You're leaning into that hard, for real.
Well, it was
for real.
Cool.
You guys are kidding. I thought that was like a joke.
That was literally terrifying. It was like menace to society. Like
he comes flying out of the sky.
And you're like, yeah, man. Are you kidding?
He just turreted all of them. He just turret all of it.
And it turned out they were even innocent.
Yeah.
They were just coming back from church.
Yeah.
But you did see him beating up that one farmer guy, and they weren't good people. So I guess they deserve.
So they all deserve to die.
Sure. The death penalty. That was appropriate. I would say Slave One was awesome in this episode, and it did shine very well. I'll give that to you, but I disagree because Attack of the Clones and the pursuit of Obi-Wan and the seismic charges.
Yeah.
I thought it was cooler, but I will say this is milquetoast because I don't know if it ruffles feathers.
So it's going to come down to the comments real quick.
No, I think if we are both in agreement, then
but you said you disagree.
I think you can disagree with it and acknowledge there's I disagree, because it doesn't matter. It's not a hot take.
Yeah.
Or I freaking disagree, man, because you're still wrong.
We don't have enough Slave One passionate voters in this group, if that's the case.
Slave One's awesome.
Amanda, is it milquetoast or you disagree?
It's milquetoast.
Gosh, darn it. All right, here we go. I was really hoping to play a soundbite with the Slave One, but here we go, Grievous.
You fool! Your take is milquetoast.
At least it wasn't cold.
It wasn't cold. So, but what I want to talk about when they do board that shuttle, Imperial shuttle, that guy who's holding up the gun against Dr. Pershing's head, boy, he sure did remind me a lot of the Joker from The Dark Knight.
Interesting.
Is it the same actor?
Well, no, he died.
No, not Heath Ledger. I guess I was thinking of in like a different. I know
he's gone.
Joker.
No, I guess I thought that there was another one of the Joker's pawns that he looked like.
One of his henchmen holding at gunpoint.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like, dang, this guy's for real. He just shot his other guy.
He shot his other guy, no problem. He's over here. He's outnumbered, and he's just.
And he's like, haha, I watched your planet blow up.
Yeah. Millions.
And then she blows up his face.
It's like small price to pay for whatever to annihilate terrorists or, end terrorism, something like that. Crazy. I was like, man, you are not doing a good job selling yourself into not dying.
Yeah.
But definitely, I was like, all right, this man is like making sure he gets another role because he didn't have a lot of screen time, but I'm buying it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and he did. Was this the first time he confirmed Dr. Pershing was specifically a cloning engineer? I don't know if we knew that was who that was, prior to this episode.
Yeah,
not fully. Yeah, so that was good information, and he still lives. So
yeah,
I'm really excited. Okay. Now that we're done talking about season 2. I know that we'll talk about probably best moments next week and what we're looking forward to and stuff, but I am not looking forward to being on Tatooine again. Ugh.
Are we going to be back on Tatooine again?
That's what it looks like from the trailer.
Oh, okay. I don't mind. We gotta get Boba in somehow.
Gotta get them twin sons, baby.
It's not Star Wars without him.
Yeah. I'm fine with it. I'm more curious about the fact that it looks like Ahsoka has went from being it was listed as a miniseries to now it's just being announced as it's season 1 of Ahsoka, and they are changing up the verbiage to be to appear as though it'll be a multi-seasoned story. So super interested in that. Makes me question how involved she will be in this upcoming season of Mandalorian. Some part of me would say, I'm for sure a little bit, you would think, considering they want to help hype up their show that's coming out in September. So, and get folks excited about that. So I assume she'll play some sort of role. And Rosario Dawson said she wants to play Ahsoka for life. So lots of cool things there. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to look forward to with upcoming Star Wars. Mando Season 3 in 2 weeks. Looks phenomenal. I am so stoked. Next week, we're going to be talking about the Mandalorian top 10 moments we hope to see in Season 3. We didn't do this for Andor, but we should so totally go back to bingo cards.
Yeah.
Because I was
Well,
robbed.
it didn't work for Andor because it was not really anything we could bank on, kind of like Obi-Wan, where we're like, all right, I bet he's going to say hello there. Or like, I bet he's going to fight Vader. Here, I do feel like we can make some predictions enough to make a bingo card worthwhile.
Yeah, we should do it. Yeah. Are you here next week, Amanda? Or are you...
I will not be here. I will be traveling.
Ooh, no. So I get to explain your why behind your bingo card.
I will, yeah. Maybe I'll record like a voice memo or something.
And just play it.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, that is this week's episode of Duel the Ranks. For all you folks who joined us live, thanks so much. Guys, do we want to tell one of our very lucky, if we want to call the word lucky or unlucky listeners, what they won this week and who won it?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, if your name is KG, feel free to write us. You can go to our website. You can go check us out on YouTube, and you can DM us. We do have an email address and everything.
Or Twitter, yeah.
Or on Twitter. Just feel free to DM us your shirt size. We posted some really awesome stuff supporting the show this week, and we like to give out some swag from time to time. So write us your shirt size. We're going to be sending you some DOTR swag. So thanks so much for all you do to support the show, and all you other listeners. Keep listening. We've got other swag we're going to be giving out. We've got fanny packs. We've got mugs. So support the show. Share it with your friends, family. Comment on the YouTube stuff. We're still trying to grow that presence. We're mostly on the podcast, but, we're putting in more time as YouTube goes on, and eventually we'll start growing our own Discord. It's not like this is, it's all we do. I'm surprised we haven't grown it more. We don't have jobs. We don't have why is it here?
But we see you out there, and we appreciate it. We love
we do.
You guys, and it's great to just interact with you all on the chat and all other various forms of social media.
Absolutely. So KG, go on our website, go to duelranks.com, pick out the color, pick out your size, let us know what you want. We're going to send it your way. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, and we look forward to seeing you next week as we talk about the Mandalorian Chapter, whatever, all those chapters for Season 3, and the top 10 moments that we are most looking forward to. See you then.
You got a good feeling about Duel of the Ranks? Then punch it down below to subscribe so that you never miss our latest ranks and hot takes from a galaxy far, far away. This is the way to some of the best Star Wars content out there. So, do or do not. There is no try, but do yourself a favor and